Hello and welcome to Faith, Friends, and Leadership. Today, we're joined by my dear friend, Sherrie Jenicek. For over 20 years, Sherrie's primary mission field was her home as a stay-at-home mom. We know how difficult, challenging, and rewarding that is. But 9 years ago, stepped into the world of real estate to support her husband, Jamie. What she thought was just a career change turned out to be a divine training ground for something much larger. As Sherrie prepares for the dedication of their new church building this June, we dive into her leadership journey from the struggles of building a real estate team to the powerful moment she decided to stop bulldozing, start releasing control to the Holy Spirit. Sherrie, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. It's good to be here.
So excited for our conversation today. We started out in a professional coaching relationship and then grew as friends. Being able to pray and just watch your business thrive has been amazing to be a part of that. So, to kick us off, tell us a little bit about yourself.
So, a little bit about me. I grew up in North Idaho, around the Coeur d'Alene area. Well, actually, the Silver Valley. I grew up in the Silver Valley and um, was raised there. And my small town, little mining town, just a few thousand people at the time. My folks still live there in the same house that I grew up in. Um, Just a little bit of background about my parents. My dad was in law enforcement for over 30 years. He was actually chief of police in that town for a while. And my mom, she worked at a nursing home and physical therapy place for a while before she retired. And my folks, they modeled a lot for me of what really hard work and dedication is. That's kind of how I grew up. And so I thank them for that today, that they instilled that in me. But yeah, I grew up in a little town. Didn't have the best experience growing up, not because of my family, but because I, from a very young age, experienced a lot of bullying, and as a lot of kids do. And I share that because that would later kind of define how I lived my life. And the process that God has kind of taken me through to heal from that really shaped me because from a very young age, like kindergarten all the way through high school, even after that. And so that was a little bit rough growing up, but made it through. Um, Met my husband, he's born and raised here. I met him when I was 19, and we've been married for, I think, 32 years. It'll be this summer. And we raised our family here. We have 3 kids. They're all out of the house. And about 9 years ago, I was sitting down with my husband in our living room. We were having a conversation about real estate. And, at the time I was a stay-at-home mom and feel very blessed that I got to do that and to stay home with my kids and raise my kids. I was working a little bit like cleaning houses, part-time job and that kind of stuff, but for the most part, stayed home and raised the kids. But I was sitting with my husband one day and he was sharing with me the struggles in real estate. And for some reason, I remember sitting in that couch and I was crying because I was just like, man, he's really stressed. And I felt like I needed to respond to that instead of just listening. And so I was like, what can I do to help my husband? And not knowing anything about real estate other than what he shared with me on a daily basis. And so we talked to our pastors and they strongly encouraged I go work for him, which at the time we were like, oh gosh, we can't work together. There is no way that we can
Cross the
work together.
line.
Yeah, no way we can work together. But we made the decision, and so I went to work for him and just started out doing some photography, some video editing, and it kind of went from there. And so that was the beginning. That was a little bit about my background.
And Jamie, yourself, and I, we connected, was it like 4 or 5 years ago? Then
Hmm.
has it been that long? Probably somewhere around there. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you had made that switch from when it's there. Yeah, so what a shift, right? You're blessed. You feel like you have a calling of where you're supposed to be at, raising the kids and going there. And now you feel as though, okay, I should jump in to real estate. How long had Jamie been in real estate or did you guys get in?
So Jamie got in right when right around, I think it was right before the housing market crashed.
Okay, so like 2008, 2009,
8.
somewhere in that
Mhm.
range. Okay. All right, so
Yes,
he was pretty far along when you made the decision,
he
at least
was.
then, "Okay, then I'm gonna jump in
Yeah,
and
he
help."
had an assistant, and, I think he might have had one other person working with him at the time
Okay.
when I got
So
involved.
so different challenge when you got in
Yes.
there. As you reflect back and think on that, I know you said, well, at first, we're like, "I don't know if we could work together," but what were some of the other challenges you faced that first maybe year?
Well, with him, it was, taking off the wife hat, right?
Yeah.
So we had to work through, and we didn't have, like, a real bad struggle, but, there was some of that where he'd ask me to do stuff and I'd wanna know why, and he would be like, "Well, if I can't explain why, I just need you to do it right now," which doesn't work for somebody like me because 'cause I'm like, "I need to
Yeah.
know the why. Why for
Yeah.
work for?" So learning that, okay, there's this work relationship and then there's the at home relationship. And as time went on, that got better. But at first, we kind of stumbled through that a little bit. And plus, he had an assistant at the time who was doing a lot of paperwork and different things for him. And, I was just kind of doing my background stuff. But then I kind of started getting more into the internal workings, like listings and doing some marketing and those kinds of things. And her and I didn't really that was very hard because it's not that we didn't get along, but I think me not really knowing how to work with somebody else in that capacity, I might have kind of bulldozed a little bit, not meaning to. But my background, coming from my background, being a stay-at-home mom, I was cleaning houses and doing those things, and a lot of reason I did that is because I didn't really have to answer to anybody, and that's kinda where my mind frame was. I had worked some other jobs, but had very bad experiences working with other women and that kind of thing, and I know a lot of that came from my background growing up and being pushed around, and I just was like, "Nobody's gonna push me around." That was kind of the thing I had in me, so I chose to clean houses for a while because I didn't have to answer to anybody, but then my heart was to help my husband, so I'm like, "I wanna get in there, I wanna help him and do what I can," but I didn't really know how to work with others well, and so I feel bad about some things in that aspect that I look back and I think, "Man, I could have done stuff so much better," but it was growth for me and I was learning because my heart was just helping him, it wasn't really about anybody else at that time, and so she ended up leaving because of me, which was really hard, and then Jamie wanted to start building a team, and so we kinda moved in that direction.
Yeah, and well, I love the lesson that you pointed out because it's so true. You hear some people that take a pretty hard line, right? Like, you should not
Mhm.
work with friends, you shouldn't work with spouses.
Yeah.
And I think there's room to do that, and there's so many great examples like you guys where it does work.
Yeah.
But one of the lessons you gotta pick up really quick is defining what hat you're wearing and what that conversation looks like. Because if you don't set those expectations, right, that can start affecting,
Exactly.
uh, just the intimacy of the marriage in general, just the way you
Yeah.
communicate, right? Making sure that we're
Right.
not treating each other just like employees when we get home or colleagues,
Yes.
because that can be a real challenge in the expectations. Once you learn that and you have it set, it could be some of the greatest partnerships ever, right? I mean, you got married
Yes.
because of love and the best friend and diving in there. So it can be so good when that happens.
And it really has turned into that now. I mean, it's been the best thing for us, for our marriage, and I tell people that, even though we never thought we could work together, this journey has actually brought us closer together. We have the same goals. We we communicate more. We spend time together in devotions. It's just really brought us together because I think going through those struggles together and growing together has helped both of us, and he's helped me grow a ton through the process.
So good.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things you and I have chatted about in the past is I know you really struggle seeing yourself as a leader. And
Yes.
I know you're a brilliant leader, but you have a hard time sometimes seeing
I
that,
do.
as we all do, right? And I'm speaking to myself just
Mhm.
like anyone else. It's difficult when you think like that. And
Yeah.
you had mentioned that often, you fought a skeptical mindset just with dealing with others, kind of brought that up in this. So
Yeah.
how has your time in real estate industry served as a sanctification process for your leadership character?
Yeah. Huge. It's been huge for me. Like I said, coming in to an environment where I had to work with other people and also ask for help. Because when Jamie's assistant left, then it was just me, and then I had to learn how to do paperwork, and I didn't have any knowledge of anything, and there wasn't really any training for me at the time, so I'd ask questions. People in the office were really great, and I kinda just fumbled my way through it. But, I think, that was very hard for me because well, 1, not asking for help, and 2, I have this thing where, like, I'm gonna get in there and I'm gonna figure it out and I'll do it. But while that's good on some levels, it's still that sense of I'm gonna do it myself. I wasn't really open, you know what I mean? And so as Jamie wanted to start building a team then and bringing people on is when things got a little bit hard for me.
Yeah.
And, bringing on and like I said, I had trouble working with other gals in the past, and that was from way back when. So we brought some gals on the team and, some guys, and for me, it was just like drama central, and so I was going in with that mindset. And for a long time, I really battled through that. I mean, I kept going, but I was really struggling because I was looking at everything else except for myself. Right. And it wasn't until probably, I would say these last couple years in real estate, and coaching with you really helped me a ton. But through these last couple years where we had a big team and then it was just Jamie and I and Jesse for a while, and people would come and people would leave. And, I had never hired people, never had to fire people. I've never done any of that. And while I learned so much, I realized I'm like, I have to take a step back and look at, okay, if people are leaving, what am I doing wrong? you know, because it's really easy to be like, okay, well, they didn't work out or they didn't have a heart for the team or whatever. And I started really doing a lot of inventory in myself. And I'm like, okay, I gotta see what's going on here because I can't look at everybody else and blame everybody else. I have to look at myself and where do I need to grow? Why am I struggling? And why do I keep hitting my head against the same thing? Because we're trying to build this team. We have agents and, I want to be helpful. My heart is to help, but I just want to do it all myself. And so this process has really taught me that, I can do it all myself, and I made myself miserable trying to do it all myself, and so, and crying on my husband's shoulder and, all those things, which I'm sure stressed him out because I came to help him, and then it became more of a stress thing, right? Because I wasn't letting go, but I didn't see that for a very long time, and so these last couple years, I really started looking at that, and I felt like, "Okay, it's the 3 of us, we'll be o maybe we'll build a big team, maybe we won't." And I was just kinda comfortable for a while, you know? And I didn't really we wanted to hire somebody, but the inside, I'm like, "I don't really wanna deal with it. I'm kinda tired of it."
Yeah.
And like I had said before, I went through kind of a just whatever season. I was just kinda like,
Yeah, you
"Oh,
kinda
we'll just
described it
get
as a
through this."
wilderness season, right?
Yeah,
You
like a
kinda yeah,
wilderness season. Yeah.
yeah.
And deep down, I knew that if we if we were ever gonna get to where we wanted to be, I had to let go. I mean, deep down, I knew that, but I didn't want to move. And I was tired of, interviewing people. I was tired of going through the process. I, would do everything right, and then I'd hire somebody on the fly, and none of it was working out. And, so like a couple months ago, well, I guess it's been about almost 3 months ago, you know, Jamie's like, I have this gal's number and she's looking for a position and she's licensed, which is something we've prayed for. And he sent it to me and I just kind of set it aside. I'm like, well, maybe I'll reach out later. I wasn't really, I was like, whatever. So I'm sitting there and I'm like, okay, I'll send her a text and just see where this goes. So I sent her a text and she's like, yeah, I'd love to meet with you guys. And we ended up meeting with her, and as soon as I sent that text, it was like this light bulb went off, and I was just like, "Okay, I'm done." And I know it was the Lord, because I felt a release, and I felt this release inside, like, okay, Sherrie, you're done. And I thought, wow, that I really am ready to let this go and ready to move on. So I had that. Well, walking out the process of that is different. I mean, the first step is realizing and admitting that it's time to let go. Even though I had prayed for it before and all that, I wasn't really ready. And so, anyways, this we didn't end up hiring this gal, but we hired another gal who was also licensed, who is on the team right now, and she's doing great. And so, working in the process right now is releasing that to her, right? And I'm still working through the letting go process of trying not to be micromanaged and and allowing her to flourish in the space. And so it's been a journey for me in that whole process of realizing that, I working with other people, what's the best for the team. And it's been an ongoing journey. And I'm not like completely there, but I'm way better than I was 9 years ago.
That's it, right? When you're following Jesus and looking to glean from him and
Yeah.
work and employer and show up to serve, right? It's a constant
Yeah.
journey of
It
growth
is.
and just being
Yeah.
uncomfortable, and no one really arrives, right? So
No,
we're perfected with
no.
him. So up to that point, and God's so good. I mean, what
Amen.
also a season of just preparation, right? That we
Yes.
can't always see coming, but wow, what a way to learn and grow as now you move into a season of
Yeah.
starting a ministry, right?
Yes.
Church dedication.
Yes. Yeah, we're very excited about that, and, it's, less than 2 months away.
My man, I know it seems like you've been talking about it, but it's like a gradually then suddenly, right? It's like
Yeah.
you kicking the
Yeah.
can down, thinking like, ah, that's a ways away, and here we are.
Yeah, and I was telling my pastors the other day because 'cause I'm helping put, like, an operations manual together for the church, and I said, "I do some of my best work at the last minute." We've been talking about this for years, and now it's like pedal to the metal, and just like, yeah. So,
Yeah.
we're working through that, and I mean, not everything's gonna be completely done, but it's gonna be great, and we're all super excited about it. But, there's still a sense where I'm like, "Gosh, I don't feel quite ready inside," but I don't know if you ever really feel ready. I know that God's done a great work in me and in my husband, my pastors, and so we're excited for what's coming.
So good. Well,
Yep.
so you and I talked, and you said your favorite piece of wisdom was always to look at the bigger picture rather than getting caught in the weeds of the
Yeah.
details. So with the church dedication, just, months away, weeks away, your real estate team finally falling into place and busy, right? You and I talked
Busy.
about that.
Yes.
We have business coming in. How do you practically keep your eyes kind of on that kingdom vision when the strands of daily life try to pull your focus away? Like, what are some tactics or tricks maybe you use to do that?
Well, my mentor is my pastor's wife, Sione. I don't know why it makes me cry. She's my mentor. She's been my mentor for a long time.
Yeah.
She's a very godly woman, a lot of wisdom, and she always talks about practice. Practice in the sense not checking off a box, but practice the daily things that draw us closer. Spending time in your word, praying, and making that practicing presence. And it's not just about sitting and praying in your prayer closet, but while you're doing the dishes, while you're driving the car, while you're at work, and always being aware of the Lord and that He's with us. And I love that that's something she's always talking about. And so I try to be so much more aware of that in my life when things get super busy, as they do for all of us, right? We're all busy. And it's easy to fill the space and fill time doing busy work. So, I live 40 minutes from town. And so a lot of times I drive to work and I won't have anything on. I'll just be quiet, and just listen because I don't have a lot of time in my day that's just like that quiet time. There's always something. I try to spend time in the word every day. Am I always great at it? No. But, just the things that I think the biggest thing for me is to be aware that God's with me and to bring God into my day, into my thoughts, into my conversation, um, into my decision making. That's something Jamie and we pray a lot more about our decisions, even small decisions, and, bringing the Lord into that. And so that helps keep me on the right path and grounded by doing those things. Yeah.
Wise advice. Sherrie, thank you so much for sharing today.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, always an honor. For our listeners, till next time, keep living a life of faith, building up your friends, and embracing the journey. God bless.